Let's move on to this good question that you have for me about Penn State basketball.
I forget how I phrased it. What are
Oh
you
my
most
gosh.
interested? Which one are you most interested in, most or least interested in? Women's basketball or men's basketball at this point? Is that what I texted?
All right, here we go. To the text messages from Steve. Which are you more optimistic slash
Oh,
care
optimistic.
about? Men's or women's hoops, referring to Penn State
There
women's.
you go.
Um,
So if you know the question, why are you busting my chops? Why don't you
I
just
guess I
answer
would
it?
just like to tease you.
Okay.
Okay. Gun to my head type thing. I feel more optimistic about the fact that the women's program is headed back in the direction that it was for much of my childhood, right? Like, and I know that that sounds weird, but like there was a lot of pride in Penn State women's basketball, particularly in the early part of the 2000s or early on that the Kelly Mazzanti era, right? Like, and even the players behind you and like even when I was a student in that I think it was my junior year they won a Big Ten title, right? Like a regular season title. It was a point of pride, and it was very hard to watch that program drop off. So I am to see it turn around the way it has under Carolina. I am more optimistic, more hopeful about that. Not, but I would, but I'm. It's funny how like over particularly this transition happened like mid college, right? Like I have become much more a Penn State men's basketball fan. Like I will sit down and make Penn State men's basketball appointment viewing. If the Lady Lions are on, I will happen to turn them on. Now, as they get good again, I will probably start to pay even more attention to them. So I hope that provides clarity on your answer. But I would say towards a goal, a higher achieving goal, Penn State women's basketball.
Okay. I think that makes sense. So I'm hearing, so how much patience do you expect to have, do you expect to need for the men to be good again? Like
I,
tournament level good again?
Tournament level good again.
Because they've been, this has scared me, and I kind of hinted at in the story I wrote. They've been to the tournament. In theory, you could make the argument they were tournament level under the past two coaches, right?
Right.
So if Rhodes gets in there, holy cow, they might almost be basketball competent. Three coaches and three tournament level teams, if that happens.
Looking at the amount of money that they spent on that program, looking at and then laying it out that way, the way you just laid it out, and then laying it out in terms of expectations of what Mike Rhodes did at VCU, and now has to do at Penn State in the same, maybe not
Mhm.
to necessarily the same level, but in some similar fashion. And then the fact that Micah Shrewsbury really did it in what two seasons. I will be it will be a mild disappointment next year if Penn State doesn't make the tournament because they're a 500 team right now. Like I don't know if they'll necessarily finish out that way, but they're a 500 level team. What does he get? What's he gets even more of his guys in terms of a recruiting class in. And then obviously the transfer portal really spins harder in basketball. Um, I don't know. I just like I was reading, I went back and was reading what we wrote about that tournament run and I still believe that Micah Shrewsbury was the proof that Penn State basketball can be a thing, right? Like and so it's there's no more excuses. I don't have the
Okay.
patience for a 10 years like I did with Pat Chambers.
Okay. I just didn't know. That was my sense of where you were going, but I just didn't
Yeah.
know. So thanks. Very cool.
What about you? Same question to you.
I think I would be, the women felt so far off that I'm a little surprised at how well they're doing this
Hmm.
season. And that the whole cobble together a lineup and transfer people in and do whatever else feels like it should be tougher for women in some ways than men. Just, I don't know, just because relationships, right? Like, and then that's stereotypical, but I don't know. I guess I'm more surprised about the women than the men this year, honestly.
The way it
Um,
clicked was surprising, I think, the way it has clicked after what
yeah,
we've
just because it looks, I
yeah.
mean, it just felt like excuse. I mean, I get everybody else in the world had COVID, everybody else had some, other people had coaching changes, whatever else. It just felt like there was a bigger gap to close this year if they were going to be good. But they might have done a decent job of closing it. We'll see as they play out. I mean, maybe they're going to be tournament level this year, and that would be a big thing. I think a big credit to Keegs and the team and whatever else. And the men, yeah, I don't have. I mean, I kind of say it facetiously, but it's true. They're not asking me to do anything. They just want to go out and win basketball games, and that's great. So as long as you're not asking me to climb, do whatever else, and you're just going to go prove yourself, go ahead. But yeah, it probably shouldn't take 10 years. And I think it'll probably take 2 or 3, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and I think
And if it
that's
doesn't take 2 or 3, I think it'll be interesting to see the fan base's patience with that in
yeah.
the new world.
Yeah, and I wonder how whatever happens with the football program, whether it's good or bad over the next really 2, 3 years, like distracts or adds to that circumstance, right?
Right.
No, I think that's about where I'm at with it too. So okay,